very good afternoon to you and welcome to our very short presentation on DATV. I hope you're going to find this interesting. What we'll cover is not in too much detail to bore you. We're going to show you how you set up a station very quickly. We're going to show you the different types of setups that one can use. There are many ways to kill a cat. And we're going to show you where to get further information so that if you're interested, you've got enough reading material to really get into the grips of this little program. And I'm sure, hopefully, that soon we will see many of you on DATV in due course. It's a fascinating part of the hobby. Thanks to the new satellite QO-100, we have a wonderful opportunity to connect with people all over Africa, Europe, into the UK, and it's a lot of excitement, and it's certainly a facet of our hobby that is attracting more and more attention. So I hope you'll enjoy this very short, brief, shall we call it, discussion on digital amateur radio television.
CQ, 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 DX. This is Alpha 71 Alpha United. I'm talking to you through in the occasion of the inauguration of Sahelsat 2, the channel who is precisely for the radio amateur. And this is the first time in history that you will receive us clearly, and we will receive you 9 by 9. I hope this it will accumulate it and give all the the amateurs all over the world the opportunity to use our channel and communicate it with our organization. The Qatar Radio Society would like to thank you and thank the whole amateurs in the whole world. Thank you very much. Wa shukran wa ma'a salam.
Sahelsat, space to deliver your vision.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Second engine start.
And we've had second engine start number 2 as that Merlin vacuum engine relights.
Spacecraft separation confirmed.
Okay, to get going, I think it's always advisable to start receiving DATV pictures. And there are a number of ways to go about doing that. The one way is to get one of these little sat finder receivers, not too expensive. The disadvantage is that you can't see anything below 1,000 symbol rate, and nor can you receive H.265 video, although you can receive the audio. So it's a bit limited, but it gets you going if you just want to look at the beacon. The other way is to use the Mini Tuner, a beautiful little receiver that you build as a kit, or you can get the components from the British Amateur Television Club, BATC. They have a comprehensive program on receivers and also transmitters, and that's a very worthwhile organization to perhaps join if you're interested in DATV. One can also receive a DATV signals using the ubiquitous Pluto, a little bit of a modification to the software, and one will be able to receive high quality DATV signals using the Pluto. So those are basically the three different ways. Mostly people use the mini tuner, a fantastic little receiver, has a lot of advantages. You can see the signal strengths, all sorts of other information can be gleaned, but we'll go through that in a minute or two once we bring that up on screen. If we start with the antenna, one must realize that our television signals are normally horizontally polarized as opposed to the narrowband vertically polarized. Now there are two ways to do that with the LNB. You can either put 18 volt onto it and that will automatically change the polarization, or you can just leave it as a 12 volt up to the LNB and then move the actual LNB into a horizontal position. So it's up to you which is ever easier. So you have a dish and will be fine. LNB, it down converts to around about 740 odd megahertz, and then you can use the Pluto to receive that, and then on your computer, through the right software, which we'll go through in a minute, you can then decode the various DATV signals. Alternatively, you use the same LNB, same dish, and you come into the mini tuner, and its proprietary software is used, and then you click onto that, and you've got two types. You've got the new version 9 or the older scan and tune, which is a very nice feature because you can let it run across the band like a spectrum scope, and it will automatically save the various DATV signals on the right hand side of your screen, and you can go and click onto them later and then play them back and also choose which ones you want to look at. Or even download it from their web page. The beauty about this transmitter is the ease of operation. It's got a touch screen and really well thought out and programmed so that it can bring you onto the air very quickly. You can touch screen the transmitter comes up, you can change the frequency, you can change the modulation, the type of encoder, for example H265 or 264. You can go to the source, either a webcam, a whole list of different test card can come up. Your line gain you can adjust so that you can adjust the output of the line gain, and in other words the signal strength. Let me just clear this. And then your audio, you can have a direct microphone input or through the webcam. You've got an easy video capture device that you could use so that you could get video in to the unit using this little device. You can also have preset frequencies, for example, and you can store your preset levels. You can also have attenuation levels on your output. That's all on the TX side. Then, coming in due course, you can also receive on this. This still has to be enabled, but there are a couple of guys doing research on this using the Raspberry Pi 4, and I have seen videos being received on this very unit. And then, you can of course configure everything. You've got different formats. You've got everything you need on this little transmitter. A very simple thing to build, and very versatile indeed. Of course, the other way is to go to the Pluto, which we will discuss in a minute. But that's the ports down. If you want to see what it looks like inside, it's very simple really. I'm going to attempt to open the cabinet and you can get a shot of it from there. Everything revolves around this area here. This is the Pi 3 Plus. You have the little line. I've just disconnected the amp at the moment. That's a little preamp, and the two 5-volt power supplies, little fan, and that's it. It's actually very simple, and it works like a bomb. I'll tell you what, very, very useful, versatile piece of equipment to get a decent signal out, a nice transmitted signal. Right, I hope that explains the ports down for you. And as mentioned earlier, we are going to show you the Pluto, which is this little Pluto here is that whole DATV transmitter I showed you earlier, the ports down, and it can actually receive TV at the same time. So the software organizes the Pluto. You can either go in through a USB cable like we have, or you could have a network cable attached to it with a separate power supply. The output of the Pluto in this case goes to a preamp which is underneath the unit. You won't be able to see it really, I don't think. It's right underneath, a little 1 watt preamplifier. The output of the preamp comes into the input of the LD MOS amplifier over there. This is just a little circuit which was developed by Leon to take the temperature of the amplifier into consideration, and we can change the bias that you can see over there, the bias current. At the moment it's not operating, so it's sitting at 106 and 1.82 volts. On this particular amplifier I also have water a chiller outside, water cooled, and that keeps this thing very, very stable to within about 1 degree. Okay, the way I started with DATV was to get a very cheap sat finder as the one I have in my hand, and I was able to at least download the pictures from our beacon on the satellite, and I'm sure we get a bit of a close-up view on the beacon, and you can see this little sat finder picking it up. The disadvantage with these things is it cannot receive anything lower than 1,000 symbol rate, so it's actually not really a good instrument to use, but it's a start to get the dish nicely tuned and at least on frequency, etc. So that's a little sat finder that I used, not very expensive, about maybe 1,700 Rand, and it certainly helped me get my dishes going and at least get the thing started. Another disadvantage with this unit is it cannot pick up H.265 TV, but only H.264, so a bit of a difficulty. However, it's a start and it works. Right, we have to now, of course, build a little receiver to be able to receive the DATV signals. There are many ways you can buy them, or you can build the mini tuner, which is this little unit over here. Works extremely well, and no problem with it locking on. And what's nice is you have proprietary software that this works on. You've got 2 ports, so you can look at 2 different stations if you needed to, and it works very well indeed. Simple thing to construct. You get most of the boards and the tuner and the mini tuner module from the British Amateur Television Club. That's just a little power supply to be able to give it 5 volts, and you have different regulators over there. Works very well and easy to construct, and no problems with it. Nice little hobby. Right. This is a little contraption we made to keep the receiving LNB accurate on temperature control. So it is a polystyrene box which we have put some fiberglass around, and this is the QO-100 down converter, which I actually use for narrowband, and then just a nice fiberglass box upon that, and that gets coupled, of course, to the antenna. As you can see, there's your little potty with the down converter connected to that on the 2.4 meter dish, solid prime focus. That's a little gadget I made to be able to put a laser into the middle, a collimator, and then get the dish perfectly lined up to the center, and then I slipped in the potty. This is the accuracy. I'm plus minus 1 hertz to the geo satellite beacon. That's Charlie, DK3 Zulu Lima, came to visit me not so long ago, operating the narrowband transmitter. Having a lot of fun. He did a lot of DX stations on that via the satellite, of course. Just another view of old Charlie there. Can you believe the shack was quite clean? Doesn't look like that now. That's just the one receiving antenna on the left. There's a spare, and then the main transceiver. Charlie is 6'5" or something, and so it gives you an idea of the size of the dish. The bigger the dish, the better. This particular dish I have moved over and using it for DATV, and then I've recently constructed a smaller 1.8 meter dish to do this narrowband. That's just the narrowband setup built into the console. This was the start of the ports down transmitter. I built a little wooden cabinet for it so that we could easily mount the boards without too much difficulty. And this is just the way it was going through. I got my pattern makers at work to knock this up together one Friday afternoon, and they did a very good job. Came out quite well in the end. Of course, we then sprayed it, firstly with a prime coat, and then painted it white, and that's with the screen. That's a finished article. Of course, not wired up yet, but we'll show you in due course what that looks like. That supports down. Of course, the labels had to come on. It's far from finished, but it's a start. And you can see how that progressed. This is the Lime SDR that we use for transmitting the signal from the ports down into that. And I put some copper heat sinks on because it did get quite hot. I've subsequently changed this for a newer model which doesn't get hot at all. So these were the 3-volt regulators that got hot. That's the Raspberry Pi 3. And that's the heart of the ports down, and that's the Lime coupled to a little amp and the 2 power supplies, 5-volt power supplies, a little relay there for PTTing the main linear amplifier, and that's the output of the little amp now coupled to a cable that couples to the main amp. And there's the ports down, Raspberry Pi 3. This is the mini tuner which we use to receive DATV signals from. A nice little kit that you can get from the British Amateur Television Club. We have mentioned this before. I put bigger chokes in to get absolutely better than DC value on the power supply. Right, now the ports down labeled a bit, and there it's on, ready to go. Worked first shot. There was absolutely no issues. I must also thank Romeo. He helped me ZR6RB on the ports down. This is the start of the main linear amplifier. We milled out a piece of the aluminium and then slotted in some copper, because that's a copper heat sink, and did a quite good job of that, getting it in tight. And that is where we put the pallet on of the linear. It's mounted to that, so you can get very good transfer. I've also using water-cooled temperature control through a temperature controller we use on molds, so it keeps the temperature accurate to within 1 degree Celsius. So there are water channels through that. As you can see, the pipe comes in and the cold water goes through and out the other end, and I can adjust the temperature to whatever I want. I normally run at about 14 degrees, between 13 and 14 degrees Celsius. And there's the pallet now to be mounted on the copper plate, which then absorbs the heat and then distributes it through the aluminium block. Copper is a very, very fast conductor of heat, so we can get rid of the heat very quickly. Of course, you do, use copper paste. Why I like the Amplion is that it's already got filters built in and ready to go. Very clean signal. All the inputs and outputs were tested like that. As you can see, the voltage is coming in, your bias voltage. And then we found a bit of self-oscillation because of the sensitivity. So we took an old Doom tin, cut it open and then bent it. I got some pieces of tin from Louis, ZS6BD, and we then bent this into a nice little unit to be able to shield off the transmitter side, and it works a treat. Absolutely no self-oscillation whatsoever, and just soldered the corners. What's nice with tin is it's very easy to use, and it solders so nicely and bends so easily. So okay, once we used the old Doom tin, we then of course just sanded it off, and there we are. Made sure that the holes lined up with the tapping. Let me tell you, to tap into copper is not easy. You can break a tap very quickly. So that's what it started to look like, and then somebody slapped a call sign on, and tightened up everything, and we also made a little supports to make sure that the tin could withstand any rigorous treatment. That's the end of it. That's what it looks like, the final article with the lid, and we are back to square one. Right.
Did you know what you
This
can
guy's
learn from
overpowered.
South India's most successful empire?
Let's have a look at his signal. And let's just turn his audio down a bit.
Vijayanagar. It literally means the city of victory. And today I'm going to tell you 4 simple
He's also looking at the live, but he can see he's overpowered. I don't know why he doesn't do anything about it. VU2ELD.
The capital of Vijayanagar was the
And
second most prosperous city in the
right,
world.
he's got a good signals. Carrier 90, 80, 85, thereabout.
And it wasn't possible without good
A lock,
Vijayanagar
very
was
good.
successful in good governance.
Strong signal, and a 7.8
Put it in simple
dB
terms,
carrier to noise ratio. D5 is a very good signal. Let's see what he's running. He's running H256. Let's see, 264.
the caste system existed.
Efficiency is not high, 22%. And
Vijayanagar was successful in
right, so
understanding the
that
importance of
gives us an
life.
idea of what's happening there. Let's just have a look at the next station. We click that, and let's hope we get a lock on station number 2. It might not. Let's just go and see if the station's still there. Yeah, it's still there. 333 kilo symbols. And this Indian station is still way, well, it's overpowered, not massively so. A little bit of regrowth down at the bottom, but not too serious. Not a bad signal. Yeah, I still can't get station 2 in. Let's just see, we are on auto. I get, there's a little bit of a carrier coming up, then it drops, then it comes. Might not be quite on frequency, but still no lock. Okay, so let's take the priority off and give it another scan. There we go.
Bild Perus zeichnen. So ist der Reisende selbst voller Stolz erfüllt, dass einmal in die Gelegenheit kommt, dieses einzigartige Land zu bereisen.
It's not a bad signal and not a bad video, considering he's only on 333 kilo symbols. It's a narrow signal, as you can see down in the screen, and let's just have a look on the Gunhili Earth Station. There it is. Narrow, and the frequency 2408.25 uplink.
Sie liegt nördlich der Stadt Puno und ist auch nicht mehr gar so weit vom Titicacasee entfernt.
Ja.
Kaum zu glauben, dass ein Teil des Fernverkehrs durch die
I'll just mute his audio for a moment.
auf denen man mit zahlreichen Rishkas den schmalen.
There we go. Muted the audio, and that's what his signal looks like on the spectrum analyzer, as opposed to 1,000 kilo symbols. There we go. And yeah, where is this guy going? Yeah. DL1ZAX. But a nice video, absolutely, for 333. So he's got his station working very well, there's no doubt. It's a D4, good signal. Forward error correction, 3/4. And his signal to noise, or shall we say carrier to noise, must be greater than 4. And he's sitting at 7.8, so no wonder it's such a good signal. Luckily, with this being digital, things work out well. You can just be over the threshold and you've got a good signal. Lots of things to read and to understand about the signal. You've got different views, presets. You've got 2 ports for the receiver. You've got your symbol rate. You can even search a wider search so that you're not so on frequency. Sometimes that helps. You can also search derator search, and a little bit more about what is running there. Let's see, we try to get station 2. Okay, station 1 is detected, and then station 2 gives the frequency. What's nice is these little presets here. Sometimes when there's a lot of stations on, they all line up, and you tick them to keep them from being replaced, and you can just go and click on them, and at will, and you can then call up those stations, provided they're still transmitting. Right, so that's a very quick setup. I'm just going to quit. Once you have your transmitter going and everything set up, you want to start transmitting. A very nice site is hosted by Goonhilly Earth Station. It's provided by BATC and AMSAT UK. And it shows you a live spectral view of all the stations that are on the satellite. Here is a classic example on the screen. And there's also a very nice little chat box on the right, which sometimes if you change your screen, it can be at the bottom. But you can then see which stations are overpowered, who is on frequency, what frequencies they are on, different bands at the bottom here. Normally we use the first three big segments here, as you can see, as the wide band. They do say narrow band, but you know, there is enough space for narrow band going forward, and it becomes a bit of a pain when you get a narrow signal here when you want to do a wide transmission, and this guy sitting with his narrow signal in the way, occupying space so nobody can come on. Effectively, we only have 3 wide channels. That's now 1,000 mega symbols, or 1,000 symbols rather. We only have the 3 channels, so not many people can come on wide at the same time. Of course, if no one goes on wide and you can go to a 333 symbol rate, there's many stations that can come on. The British Amateur Television Club has a wonderful discussion and a little round robin QSO every Thursday evening. I think it starts 8 p.m. British time, about 9 p.m. South African time during our winter, and they sit on the very last channel over here, and they have a lovely round robin chat, and very interesting to watch. I don't normally go and partake because I don't know the guys, but tend not to lose the opportunity to see them. Anyway, that's the Goonhilly Earth Station site. Very, very handy to see where the band's open, and then you, of course, you can click on the frequencies, and you can then see what frequencies you're transmitting on. I just want to see if I can do it this way while we're recording. And this is the British Amateur Television Club site. Very, very interesting to go onto that. They've got every bit of information you do require to become a BATV enthusiast. They will help you. They've got every bit of information is on this site. It's really worthwhile becoming a member of the club. And one little thing though, it's something like the SARL site. It takes a bit of getting used to seeing where things are. But what I did notice, and I have to even find it right now, and it's called their wiki. There it is, BATC wiki. If you click on that, it will give you everything you need to know about coming onto television. It's got a lovely content page here. As you can see, new to amateur TV, the whole lot. Everything's included over here. And you have sites spinning off from these as well. Very, very handy, and certainly worthwhile becoming a member of the British Amateur Television Club for sure. A lovely compilation of information, and if you go to that site and you read it up, and you'll be okay. There's absolutely everything you need, even programs that you can download if you so wished. So I think that's a worthwhile site and very helpful. A VU3OBR, a good friend of mine, Saro, sent me some links, and a bit small on the screen, so we're going to have these links at the end of the program, or available, and this gives you more on the Pluto, for example. So we'll send you those, or give you those links at the end of this program. I want to take this opportunity of thanking a very good friend of mine, Leon, ZS1 Mike, for all their advice and assistance and guidance getting me onto DATV. Leon is an absolute genius when it comes to microwave technology and to satellite tracking stations. In fact, that's his job. He works for Denel, and he goes to various parts of the world with a full container load of equipment, sets up satellite tracking stations, and tracks new satellites that go up and sends us back to base, and that's part of his job. So he really knows what he's about, and he enticed me, if I can put it that way, because I wasn't that interested in the beginning, and then he persuaded me to take part, because he was the only South African doing it a few months ago. About a year ago almost he started, and got me involved, and now at least there's 2 ZS stations on the air doing DATV. Subsequently, I've done a bit of 3D DATV as well, and it's worked out quite well. A lot of fun, and once again, Leon, thank you very much for your diligence, your assistance, and your kind advice. It is greatly appreciated.
Okay, this is what I started with. This is the BATC ports down transmitter. So the first thing, if you want to get involved in DATV, is join the British Amateur Television Club, BATC. There's a wealth of information on their website, and well, that's where I ordered the bits and pieces for a lot of my components of my station. So this is the ports down transmitter. That is their transmitter project, and at the moment, well, maybe not anymore, but it used to just do standard definition television. So it runs on a Raspberry Pi. It's fully self-contained. You have a right-hand audio, left-hand audio, composite video input, and your RF output. On the other side, you have PTT out to key your amplifiers further down the line. On-off switch, 12 volt in. This thing, it's got a Raspberry Pi inside, little microcomputer, and the SDR transmitter, the RF component, is a Lime Mini SDR, and it's also got a little module that is composite video to USB converter, so hence standard definition video only. It's got a little touch screen, and you can just press it there, and there we are transmitting. It covers anything from 2 meters right up to several gigahertz. So you can set up any frequency, any standard, all the video standards are there. Anything you want to do, it's there. And you just touch it and it goes off. So this is my first transmitter. It needs a lot of ventilation. This is the air exit. I have 2 fans inside, a central one and then a blower at the back. So all you have to do, you can buy everything locally except the software for the Raspberry Pi. They've written the software which works very well, and that's all you need as far as the transmitter is concerned. I'm not using this anymore. I've upgraded to high definition, for which you need a very fast computer, a very fast PC, to convert the HDMI to the proper transport stream, which then exits the computer via USB into this baby, the Pluto. This is a new software defined radio by Analog Devices, and this thing also covers from about DC to light, but you can only access it via USB. So the USB output from your computer goes in here, and it powers it everything, and out comes your RF. Right, the RF coming out of here is maximum 0 dBm, which is 1 milliwatt. You need more. So what I use a little amplifier module like this. This is a commercial Avantec, very expensive thing. You don't have to use that. It's just because I've been an RF collector for many, many years. I have all sorts of little building blocks. So you can get this, a similar thing from Banggood for, I can't remember, maybe 150 Rand or so. That does the same job. This has got 20 dBs of gain, so your 0 dBm is now up at 20 dBm roughly, 100 milliwatts, which is more than you need, depending on your layout. But this is what I use. I actually use this one. Just to overcome your cable losses, because my power amplifier I have mounted outside in my workshop, inside the workshop against the wall, because my transmitting dish is on the roof of the workshop, and you want minimum loss after your final amplifier. So this is to overcome the loss from inside the shack through about, I think 20 meters or so of RG214 cable, which has got quite a bit of loss at 2.4 gigs, but it's not too bad. So this overcomes that, and from there we move to the power amplifier outside, which is what I'll show you just now. Let me just take the camera out there. Okay, here we are in the workshop, and here mounted against the wall, bottom left is a Wi-Fi amplifier, normal Wi-Fi repeater amplifier, which needs about 50 milliwatts or so for full output. I don't require full output. Then it gives out, they say 8 watts, but it doesn't, it gives out 4 watts. Above it, the blue thingy is a remote control receiver, because I can remote control this from inside the house, so I don't have to come outside late at night to switch off the power amp. And the grey box with the 2 fans is where I've fitted my power amplifier, which can give me up to 250 watts, but of course you never need that much for the satellite. So all I have to do is press a button on the remote, and the amplifier fires up. So I'm not transmitting from inside the house, so there's no RF going out now. So that's it. The RF comes into the room with the cable at the bottom, the RG214. It goes down, makes a loop, and then into the little black box. And from there it goes with RG400 into the amplifier, and it exits the amplifier on the right hand side, which is LMR 400 high flex, going through the wall onto the roof. I think it's about 3 meters or so, 3 maybe 4 meters. I've written it down somewhere, to the feed of the dish. So that in a nutshell is my complete transmitter setup. I'll just show you the receiver, because you have to be able to receive as well. So we go back inside to show you the receiver setup. Okay, this is my receiver, and again the BATC came to the rescue. They have this beautiful project. It's a French design by a very clever French guy who designed this receiver and wrote the software for it. It's called the Mini Tuner. Now you get various models, but you have to build it yourself. You can order the bits and pieces from the BATC. It's very easy to assemble, and you have to use it with a PC, but it doesn't need a very hot PC. Just a general PC is fine, or a laptop. It doesn't have to be as powerful as the one you need for the high definition transmission. So it's got a lot of controls, namely an on-off switch and the LED to tell you it's on. That's the only controls. At the back you have 2 antenna connectors, normal F-type connectors. You only use one. 12 volt input there, and the USB socket, mini USB, that goes to your computer. Then you have the same Frenchman, as far as I know. I could be wrong, I'm not sure. But anyway, also a French guy wrote, yes, it must be, yeah, because he wrote the software for the PC to run this baby. And he's written various versions of this software. He's continuously upgrading it. And that is called Mini-Tune. He also has a very clever version which is called Scan and Tune, which also incorporates a little spectrum analyzer so that you can see what's going on. Okay, let me reassemble the station and we'll show you some live footage. Okay, right, now we're inside again. Everything's been reassembled. There you see the receiver, the Mini-Tuner receiver with the Pluto SDR transmitter on top of it. There you have a view of the software running on the PC for the receiver, the Mini-Tune receiver with all its functions, and very nice. On the top little screen is the screen of my high power computer which runs the transmitter. That is OBS running there, and also the Pluto is controlled from there. So the HDMI video from the camera there goes to the PC. There you can see the picture in the PC. And I'm actually transmitting now, but locally, not through the satellite. I'm just transmitting through a small antenna locally. And here I'm receiving myself on the Mini-Tuner receiver on the second PC. I'm using two separate PCs for transmit and receive. So outside, on top of the workshop, the transmit dish is a 2.4 meter dish, which is very big. It doesn't have to be that big, but yeah, it's nice. And for receive, I use a 1.2 meter dish with a modified LNB, so that the IF coming back from the LNB is in the same region as what it was originally for 12 gigahertz, because we're receiving on 10 gigahertz now. And that, in a nutshell, is DATV. Gary said I only have 3 minutes, so I can't say anything more. Cheers from ZS1, Mike.
Ja. Jo, prima. Alles bestens. Und ja, Jürgen ist vielleicht schon wieder weg oder hat weitergeschaltet. Es sind ja direkt mal ein paar Rufzeichen hier.
Looking around at that, but there's nothing about that's cheap at all. So it's almost worth risking your aircraft rather than paying out that, because it would buy a new one. Just have a spare aeroplane instead of buying the software. I suppose in the winter it'd be good, because you could play around without going out with the real plane. We'll have to see. But everything, they're all getting you, making you spend the money. You buy this,
Right, in conclusion, I certainly hope you found this relatively interesting. I hope you're going to do some further reading on the topic and that we really get to see you on DATV in due course. As I said earlier, it's a fascinating hobby. We've given you a very brief overview of how to get going, where to get further information, and you could have seen now firsthand what it looks like on your screen and what the possibilities are. So all the very best, and if you need any further information, you could contact me via SAMSAT. All the best, 7-3, this is Zulu Sierra 6 Yankee India, signing clear.